Hey everyone, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is, as you guys can tell, is another reading vlog. If you've been following the channel for a bit, then you know that I have been in a group chat where we have been currently reading through the first chunk of the Grishaverse, and then we will continue on reading with the Six of Crows duology and then King of Scars, I believe. And then Language of Thorns if our professor Andrew from Andrew Reads decides to slide that into the syllabus. But it is now February, and I am currently going to be reading Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. This is the last and final installment of the original Shadow and Bone trilogy. If you guys have been following me for a bit, you know that I have read Shadow and Bone and Siege and Storm, which I will leave the two videos for those reading vlogs linked down below. One is long, one is not so long, so take that as you will. I am coming into this book with very little expectations, primarily because the first two have been a little disappointing, in terms of kind of just the main characters, and then the main love story has been really disappointing to me. But I have faith that somehow the third book will salvage that for me and I will enjoy it. I just want to know really what happened to Nikolai. I could care less about Mal. And to the Darkling. I want to know what happened to the Darkling. I could care less about Leon and Mal. Just Nikolai and the Darkling. I will catch up with you guys when I get a chance to pick up the book, because I am also reading. This book is going to be a chunky read because she's not going to take me a week. But that is... Oh, she's going to hurt me already. The Priority of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I'm currently reading this with another read-along with my friend Sarah from String Bean Books. I will leave anyone who I have mentioned linked down below, as well as any videos or reviews that these books may have had or whatever. So she's going to take me probably the better part of February, if not February and March, because I can't take her anywhere. But I will update you guys when I get a chance to read. I have to finish my bullet journal for February. I haven't had a chance to finish that up, and it is now February 1st, so this is where we are. But I'm almost done. I just have to draw in add some colors, finish up my weekly spread, and then fill everything in. And it'll be good for a flip through on my Instagram if you guys follow me on there. So yeah, I'll catch up with you guys later. Hello, it is now Monday. I don't know the day, February 3rd? February 3rd. I got a chance to read some Siege and Storm last night and then again during my lunch break. I'm not a fan. I'm gonna move you just so I can see a little bit better. There's a literal glare and I'm really close to this car next to me. I think I'm I'm a pretty good chunk of the way through. This book's going through by a lot faster than the previous books, which is really good for me. I wasn't a fan of the prologue. I feel like the first half of the prologue was really good, and the second half was just a lot of telling of what's to come and what we as the reader can anticipate and already know this going on. I really like David. David is a precious little bean, and I love that he doesn't seem to really understand social cues, but he likes medals and things that go boom and things that are super smart and scientific, and that's how he kind of traverses through life, and I think that's really cute. And I love his relationship with Genya because it went from a very oh yeah, I like you but you don't like me, and then Genya had gone from being beautiful to being scarred and having to be judged by that, and David now shows interest in her. He said in a line that your beauty was your armor, it was shallow, but the stuff that's inside you is steel, it can't be broken, and that's why I have shown an interest, or I am visibly showing my interest in you now, even though I have been interested in you in the past. And that was a very cute scene. I really enjoyed that. Nikolai's back, and I'm so happy. Like, he started talking in the shadows and like complimenting himself, and I was like, it's my boy. My boy's back. I also am really digging Mal. Like, he's finally starting to get some character development, and I'm very happy. So happy. He said in the book, the part that I'm at was that the girl in front of him had started to develop and no longer need him. So he had started to find a way to define himself without Alina. And I really like that. And we're seeing a lot of really good scenes with Mal. I still don't think he's the best person for Alina, TBH, but he is growing, and it makes me upset that I had to wait the entirety of the 3 books for him to grow. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. It's going by really fast, like I said, so I'm trying to slow myself down, but it's very difficult. So I think I'm gonna call it a night with reading Ruin and Rising, and then because I have to read Priory of the Orange Tree, and I have to read 5 chapters and catch up with Sarah. So, but yeah, I will update you guys on any more reading that I do tomorrow, because today's gonna be a busy day. I have to film, I have to read, I have to do all these things. Hello, it is now Tuesday. I'm coming to you at my office in like the wee hours of the morning. I just wanted to pop in and say I did get a chance to read a little bit more when I was picking up my little brother, and there's nothing really much for me to say that I haven't said before, but I just have a question. Did Toya, Tamar, and Alina never like talk about the fact that Toya and Tamar were following a religious fanatic? Or did I miss that? I don't understand. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that up there before I kept reading later today and forgot about it. So I'll update you guys probably in the afternoon when I get home from work, once I've done more reading. But yeah, just wanted to throw that question out there. Maybe someone can enlighten me and tell me that they do talk about it later on in the book. I'm sure I'll find out. Whew, I just got home from work, as you can tell by the clear mess that my hair is now. I didn't get a chance to read more of Ruin and Rising during my lunch break. I ended up reading more of The Priory of the Orange Tree, which I know this isn't what this vlog is about, but they're all gay. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's like trying to build up to it, and I'm sitting here like my gaydar is just going off here. So I'm hoping to read a little bit more of Ruin and Rising before bed tonight. I have to edit a video, get that uploaded and scheduled for tomorrow, as well as CC, so that typically tends to take up most of my night, especially since somehow my February TBR, when I filmed it, is longer than my January wrap-up. But I have a feeling it's because I spent like 10 minutes struggling and butchering an author's name, which I feel really bad about. But I feel like it was partially because I didn't know how to pronounce it. And then secondly, for how they printed the author's name was a little weird. Because this is an anthology of short stories, and by the time this vlog goes up, you know what book I'm talking about. And that is Friday Black by Nana Kwame Ajay Brenya. And like how it's printed is weird because there's like just a gap here. And for some reason, my brain didn't pick up on the fact that it's one name, and I thought it was 2 separate people. I don't know. I literally spent like a good 10 minutes sitting here trying to pronounce it, and then realizing that I had been pronouncing it not only incorrectly, but also that it is one person and not 2 people. So, but yeah, that's my plan for the night, is to just edit, CC, upload, and then we'll read more Ruin and Rising. I'm like low-key concerned that I'm going through it really quickly because I started it on Sunday. I haven't checked the percentage that I have on Goodreads, but I'm like a quarter of the way through already. So I'm just like, I typically want like my reading vlogs when I make them to be like a week long. So there's just a lot of a fair amount of content. But I think with how quickly I'm getting through this book, it'll probably be less than a week. But I'm also not complaining if it'll be less than a week because I have been talking a lot in my videos. Like my Shadow and Bone vlog was like 16 minutes. And then my Ruin and Rising my Siege and Storm vlog, wow, was like 40. I don't know. But yeah, I'll update you guys if I get any reading done and my thoughts on it. That's all I gotta say. I mean, my eyebrows look really nice today. I thought they were not gonna look that nice because I was screwing up one of them, but they look fine. So I think I'm gonna start doing my eyebrows like this more. Like sometimes when I do my eyebrows, and you guys have seen it in videos, this eyebrow here is like a little, it doesn't have quite the same arch as this one. So when I do it, this one has like a higher arch, and it looks, I feel like Bella from the New Moon posters, where like her eyebrow is just like, and the other one's not. We're struggling on the eyebrow department, but we're not gonna, it's not a big deal. But I'll update you guys when I get a chance to check on things. It's kind of been a little hectic. My dog is coming back from surgery. She, a couple weeks ago, we took her to the doctor, and she had a couple malignant tumors. So she just went into surgery this morning. And my mom said that I guess it went well. She's going to pick her up now. So if I don't update, it's either because it was a good day or a bad day. We'll find out. Hello, it is now 8 o'clock, 8:30 on, did I vlog before this morning? I don't think so. It is now Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. I did get a chance to read through the book. I think I am a pretty good chunk of the way through. I really don't know how, like almost, I think about halfway. Yeah, a little over halfway. Definitely over halfway. I'd say I have like 30% of the book left. A lot has happened, and I'm very conflicted. Like, let's just go over the list. Spoilers if you guys haven't noticed. I'm starting to enjoy Mal a little bit more. I think his growth as a character in this past book has been doing pretty well. I'm enjoying it. I like the camaraderie that's going on between like Alina, Zoya, Nadia, David, and all that stuff. Absolutely amazing. I love that we're getting more of David. David is a precious being, and I just want him to be happy. I really don't know if Alina likes the Darkling or not. Like sometimes she says things like, "No, I want him to die," and then she says things and like almost kisses him and makes out with him, and I'm sitting here like, I need you to have a stance, because we are on the third book, sweetie pie. You kind of need a stance. Bagger's death has destroyed me. I can't even conceptualize it right now, and it makes me very upset. And I'm very upset. Like, I had a feeling it was going to happen, and it did. The stuff that happened to Nikolai, turning him into I can't tell if he's a Volcra or whatever. I can't pronounce the word. So if you guys have read this books and you know what the word is, so I'm not going to try because I'm going to butcher it. But he's that little thing, and it makes me so sad because he's just... Alina doesn't want to marry Nikolai, but I will marry Nikolai because he just deserves the world. Someone send me Nikolai fanfiction. I think Sergei's death honestly broke me because you can tell that he was so traumatized from the events of the second book of like watching the love of his life die and like basically all his friends die and be helpless. And then he sends him off, and then he betrays them because he feels like he'd be safe if he like sided with the Darkling again. And then he gets ripped in half. And I'm so upset. I'm really upset at that. Damn it. There's a lot going on, and I'm really enjoying the Darkling. Like, I know he's terrible, and I love that he's terrible. I think that in terms of being a well-written villain, he's gold. He just has a lot of morally gray areas. You can tell that his like ideas of like what the world should be have gotten skewed over the years, and that has partially something to do with his upbringing and like the trauma that he faced. But things have gotten skewed for him, and he doesn't really see that. He doesn't see that what he's doing is more harm than good, and it's just really interesting to see that in a villain. And I feel like, because some people tend to write villains as like they are either purely evil for the sake of being evil. Yeah, we don't really get to see the villains like personified in the same way that the Darkling is personified. We see a lot of layers to him, and you see that he really has just kind of lost his way over the course of being immortal and being lonely. So I really like that aspect, that like even the thing that he does to Nikolai that turns him into that monster, I'm angry at him for it, but at the same time I'm not, because his writing in terms of him being this evil person has so many layers to it that I'm just really enjoying it. I don't know if I'll get any reading done tonight. I have been writing for the most part of the night. I got a lot of stuff done today, actually. Yeah, it's a pretty good night tonight. I want to finish this movie I'm watching, so I think I'm gonna write for a little bit, and then like the last hour before bed I'm gonna finish up the movie. I was watching The Super last night. Like I meant to write last night, but my brain, after I edited the video that went up today and added CC and all that stuff, my brain was like, we're just gonna float along. So I was like, okay, we'll just watch a movie. So I started watching The Super, and it's really interesting. It's not like it's a horror movie, but it's a pretty interesting horror movie, I guess. I feel like I've seen it, so I'll have to let you guys know tomorrow or something whether or not I enjoyed it. But yeah, that's basically it. I don't think I'll read any more tonight, or if I do, it'll probably be for Priory of the Orange Tree, because I'm only in chapter 6, and I'm sure Sarah has whizzed past it. So I'll update you guys if I read any more of Ruben and Rising tonight, but probably not. So until then, well, I'll see you guys in the next clip. I'm not even gonna say like a couple hours, because it's not even a couple hours, it's like 2 seconds. The twist. I was not ready. Definitely not ready for that. Like, right when I start liking Mal, he's a fucking amplifier. And related to the Darkling. They're cousins? Distant cousins? Of course, life is cruel. This is fine. Right when I start liking Mal. Hey everyone, it is now Thursday. I just got home from work, and as you guys can tell by the little clip I had before this, there was a huge plot twist. So apparently, the Firebird is not the third amplifier, but Mal is. Because Mal is somehow distantly related to Morova, who is who is the Darkling's great-grandfather? Or grandfather? Grandfather. And Morova put an amplifier power in his normal human daughter, not Bagra, but someone else. And then she became a third amplifier and passed it along, and now Mal is a third amplifier, and he was just stabbed. And then he died. And then all 3 amplifiers fell apart, and because they were trying to pull themselves together, which is why Mal was such a good tracker, because the amplifiers were pulled to him, because he was an amplifier. And then Alina killed, because she didn't have the power anymore, she killed the Darkling, who I feel like went out in a very Sebastian Morgenstern kind of fashion, Jonathan Morgenstern fashion, which I'm okay with, and I'll get more into once I finish the book. That's all I have for you right now. That's that Mal is brought back to life, or was saved, and the amplifiers are gone, and Alina is no longer able to use her powers. I don't know what's going on really, but I like Mal. I don't adore him like the Darkling or Nikolai, but Nikolai is back. He's back. He's fine, more or less. But I like Mal. I think his development, how I think Mal's development should have gone is book 1 Mal in Shadow and Bone, then book 3 Mal in Siege and Storm, and then we would have gotten like a better Mal come Ruin and Rising, but that didn't happen, so. But I'll update you guys when I finish the book, which should be in a few hours. I'm like 91% of the way through. So yeah. Hello, it is now Friday. I had wrapped up the vlog yesterday, and I thought I slept on it, on my thoughts, and then I talked about it with TB, and I have some changes. But before I get into changes, let's talk about my makeup. Random tangent. Typically, my makeup would be pretty oily by now. By now, my makeup would be super oily, and you could like fry an egg on it. But I took Lisa's advice. I will leave her channel link down below. She had said that she really liked the Soap and Glory one heck of a blot primer, and I bought it recently just because I was like, you know what, I need to try something, because Soap and Glory has literally helped save my skin. And granted, my nose is still pretty oily, but my nose is like we need to work on her, and I don't know how to yet. But this is just like after being out in the sun for a little bit, driving in the heat. I have a red car, so it's a little hard. Sat in my car for an hour reading on my lunch break around like 1 in the afternoon, so when the sun was at its highest, and then I drove home and it's like 4 and the sun was beating down on me, and typically by then this is like an oily mess, as you guys have seen in previous vlogs, but it's not. So I guess now we're listening to Lisa more often. But like I said, I finished Ruin and Rising last night. I initially gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, but now it's probably gonna go down to like a 3.5 or 3.75. I haven't really figured that out yet. I have to do other reviews for January before I sit down and figure out my thoughts on that. I enjoyed it. I thought that the beginning half was really good. A lot of the characters started progressing. Mal was no longer insufferable by the end of the book, which was really nice. I liked seeing more of Tolia, Tamar, and the rest of the Grisha. I think Tamar and Nadia really made the book for me. I liked seeing more of Zoya and kind of seeing how she reacts to everyone, and how like Alina start to grow on each other, but not in like a super buddy kind of way, but more so like a I respect you, but I'm gonna still poke fun at you, which I really enjoyed. I thought that was a nice change. In terms of Mal's development, I will stand by what I said in terms of I feel like book 3 Mal should have been book 2 Mal. So that way by the time that we had reached book 3, we saw a lot more of Mal's progression and thoughts, because he had found out that he was the third amplifier. He was ready to die for Alina. So that would have been nice to have seen that progression throughout most of the book, or book 3 with book... Like if we had book 3 Mal and book 2, we would have seen more of a mature Mal kind of look at the things that he found out in book 3, which is that he's an amplifier. He's also related to the Darkling. I think they're great cousins or something. I don't know how family trees work. No one told me. I feel like the puppet thing with Nikolai, I enjoyed it because I feel like it's going to set up for Six of Crows and King of Scars. But I feel like in terms of explaining what that meant for Nikolai and how he's going to overcome that, it did, and like the point of it in this book didn't serve much of a plot. It felt like a way to get Nikolai out of the way. I really would have liked it if Mal had stayed dead. And that's not saying because I despise Mal. I have grown to like him more or less in the 3rd book. But I feel like he had built up from the beginning, or at least just the beginning of the 3rd book, that he was going to die. He had kind of accepted that he won't be great for Alina. And I would have liked Alina to have taken that pain and that torture to not only liken herself a bit more to the Darkling, because I'm sure the Darkling has experienced that same pain and same torture, like emotionally, to have lost someone he loved so dearly, but also to because I feel like it would have fit Mal more. He died in this book and then he came back like 2 seconds later, and I don't have a problem with the resurrection trope in the slightest. I quite enjoy it when it's written well and it's built up, but I feel like Mal being a tracker was not built up at all, so his death didn't feel like it meant anything. Same thing with his resurrection. And it also didn't work with the lore very well, because according to lore, the only one who has been able to bring someone back has been Moravsa. That's because he had the knowledge of making like amplifiers, and he brought back his daughter. So he turned his daughter into an amplifier, which Mal is descended from. So that didn't really make a lot of sense to me, and I would have liked more explanation on that aspect. I had mixed feelings about the ending. I feel like it fit. Like it made sense, and it was a very happy fairy tale ending. But in terms of Alina's characterization, it didn't make sense. Because in the 2nd book and in the 3rd book, she had talked about wanting peace for everyone, wanting to help grow the Grisha, basically a dream that the Darkling had, just less murdery and less destructive. But that didn't happen. She and Mal both lost their powers, and she chose a life of like quiet as a teacher, which made no sense to me at all, because I feel like it would have been nice to have seen Alina come into that sense of power and not be this quiet, timid girl that she was basically for like the first 2 books. So I'm a little torn on that. Like I feel like it fit, but also it didn't fit. So I feel like Lee wrote it as a way for Mal and Alina to be together, because Mal wanted the quiet life and Alina not so much. So I feel like that was the case. I liked the Darkling's death in terms of the fact that he didn't want to be alone. It touched on my Jonathan Morgenstern loving heart. That was kind of why I enjoyed his death so much, but he died so easily. Like, the past 3 books we have been building up to the fact that he's this big baddie who has lived several centuries and is all powerful, and then he gets stabbed by a Grisha sword. It's not even a special sword, it's just a Grisha sword, which I guess is special, but also still. I also didn't like that we didn't see Alina and Mal's reaction to not really losing their powers. Like, we saw that their reaction and it was like pretty calm, but I wanted something more because Alina had grown so used to being a sun summoner, to using her powers, and Mal literally spent his entire life being a tracker, being defined by this, and then he was okay for it for Alina. And I felt like that kind of cheapened the importance of their roles a little bit for me. I really did not like the prologue or the epilogue of the book. I feel like it tried to read too much like a fairy tale, but in terms of doing something for the plot and everything, I felt like it was more telling us what was going on rather than showing us. And it was really jarring in contrast to Alina's very close first person point of view. I just didn't like it. I feel like it was really cheap. The deaths, a lot of the deaths that happened were people that were inconsequential to the plot. It didn't mean much to me. Like, there was a point where Alina, they were in the fold fighting, and Alina heard a scream and she thought it was Zoya. And I was like, oh my god, Zoya's gonna die. And then it didn't happen, and then she was like, they're all fine and happy, and then she drops a random little bomb that Harshaw had died. And it was kind of an afterthought, and I was like, what was the point in the death? I didn't see anything, and I'm just angry at Harshaw's death because he was a throwaway death, quite frankly. It was very throwy away. I started getting comfortable with Harshaw being around and getting his personality, and then he died. And no one really seemed to care. And then no one seemed to notice the fact that there's basically no Grisha left. And I was just like, are we not going to be concerned by this? Because this was literally the Darkling's worst nightmare. He was like, the age of Grisha is going to end. And I was like, oh no, sad days. And he was like working against that and like getting equality for the Grisha, and then nothing. Absolutely nothing. That's all I can really say. I'll have more detailed thoughts when I get to my wrap-up and my actual written review, which should be up sometime-ish. But yeah, that's kind of it for this vlog. I don't know what I feel about this book. I'm sure by the time I write my wrap-up or do my wrap-up and my review, I will have a concrete kind of rating. But I enjoyed it, but also it was me. Like, don't get me wrong, I feel like it wrapped up the series nicely and the character progression was really good, but I feel like it just lacked. Like, I still don't understand Alina and the Darkling's connection relationship. Like, does she love him? Does she hate him? Were they're not connected because they're not related, but were they connected because they were the only two of their world? And I feel like Mal's resurrection would have made more sense, and I would have felt a little better about him being resurrected had he been, had the thoughts on the world had been more defined. Because I still didn't understand why. Like, do Grisha just not age as the same way? Or is it just Mal? Or is it just Alina and the Darkling? How does that... I feel like if you want to do resurrections, you have to have a set idea of what the world is and how, like, the afterlife looks like. And I didn't get that. But, yeah, that's it for my thoughts. I will have more updated thoughts for my wrap-up. But until next time, hit like, subscribe, comment. Have you guys read Ruin and Rising? What did you guys think of the ending? What did you guys think of everything? And until next time, I'll see you guys everywhere else. Bye.